Florida football has had some star quarterbacks over the years with guys like Tim Tebow, Kyle Trask, and Will Grier, but a lot of people forget about the Gator quarterback who is supposed to be the next big thing, was compared to Tim Tebow, and was going to be big time, but didn't exactly live up to all the hype. His name was Jeff Driskel, and after becoming a 5-star recruit in high school, he was the next big thing. But not only did his Florida career not pan out, but he had to transfer to a smaller school and had to grind his way into the role of a backup in the NFL. He was a superstar at baseball as well and had to give up that sport to make it big in football. Today we'll talk about the crazy story of Jeff Driskel, his entire college career, and where he is now. But first, if you're a big fan of college football, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you want to help the video out, be sure to give it a like. Suggest another player I should do a What Happened To video for next. Turn on post notifications and check out all my What Happened To videos down in the comment section. Now let's get started and talk about what happened to Jeff Driskel. Jeff has a pretty crazy childhood story, as he was actually a military kid, as his mom was in the Coast Guard and his dad was in the Navy. He actually spent some time of his childhood in Japan, and even though he couldn't speak any Japanese, he could swing a bat better than most kids, and he was considered a Little League phenom. His nickname was Godzilla, and baseball was supposed to be his future. When he came back to the United States, he grew up in Oviedo, Florida, and was a star at both football and baseball. He was actually a much bigger baseball recruit at first, as he visited Florida as a high school sophomore, but he loved both sports. His high school coach said, quote, "It didn't matter what uniform he was wearing. If it was baseball season, it was baseball season. If it was football season, it was football season. There was never a time he wanted to be at the other place." He put his heart into both sports, and that's what he was looking for in a college as well. Driskel will not pledge to a college that will not allow him to play baseball, a situation that most coaches Driskel has talked to have endorsed. He would eventually blossom into a huge football recruit, as he was 6'4", athletic, and tore it up at the Elite 11 quarterback camp. 2 months after his commitment to Florida, he went to a baseball camp where he was actually so good, he was given a grade of 10 out of 10, which meant he was seen as a potential very high draft pick or an elite level college prospect. He had to make a decision though, and he would ultimately choose football over baseball. Because he wanted to enroll early and become the starting quarterback for the Gators, he skipped his spring season and he would not be drafted out of high school. His high school coach said Driskel would have been drafted in the top 2 rounds and would have been worth $1.5 million, and he turned all that down to get paid nothing and play in college football. There's no telling what would have happened if he had chose baseball, but he had a better chance of making it big in football, and this may be something that Jeff wonders about for the rest of his life. As I said earlier, he was a massive recruit, as 24/7 Sports rated him as a 5-star prospect, the #1 dual threat quarterback, and the 17th best player in the class of 2011, plus he is considered the 361st best player in modern recruiting history. He was seen as the best Florida quarterback since Tim Tebow, and as before he had even stepped foot in the swamp. Jason Brantley was a big-time recruit, and after he had struggled at quarterback, the fan base immediately pegged Driskel as the guy to turn things around. As a freshman, Jeff would appear in 5 games, but he never really made an impact, as it was basically all garbage time snaps. Going into 2012, he was named the starter, and the Jeff Driskel era had begun. He didn't exactly impress in his first few games though, but he did beat Johnny Manziel's Texas A&M Aggies, and they knocked off number 23 Tennessee behind 2 touchdowns from him. In a game against number 4 LSU, he threw only 12 passes, but they won the game behind running back Mike Gillislee's big day. Against number 7 South Carolina, he didn't pass the ball that much, as he only threw for 93 yards, but he did throw for a career-high 4 touchdowns in that game. He threw 2 picks in a loss to their rival Georgia, and this would cost them the 2012 SEC East Championship. They barely survived against Missouri and Louisiana Lafayette before a matchup with number 10 Florida State. Driskel continued his fantastic freshman year as they beat the Noles, and he got his 10th win of the season, and another one against a big rival. He would miss 1 game his freshman year, but he did play in their bowl game, and they lost to Louisville. In 2012, he passed for 1,646 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 5 picks. Those numbers definitely don't pop off the page, but he won a lot of big games, and it was definitely a step in the right direction, and at the end of the day, wins are what mattered to the Florida fan base. In 2013, baseball would actually come back to his life, as the Red Sox would draft him in the 29th round of the MLB draft. He talked to his coach, and since the NCAA allowed it, he decided to actually sign with the Red Sox, and at least gave his baseball career a chance, and he would make some money. He said, quote, "There is no losing situation for the Red Sox by doing this. If he ends up coming, they've got a multi-million-dollar deduction on him, and if he doesn't come, they don't lose anything that way." Football was still his first priority though, and he was the starting quarterback going into 2013. He'd beat Toledo in week 1 before they were matched up with a rival Miami, and he did account for 2 touchdowns in that game, but 2 interceptions would prove to be costly, and they lost a close one to the Canes. In his 3rd game of the year, he threw an early pick against Tennessee, and then would break his fibula, which would hold him out for the remainder of the season, and things just wouldn't be the same from there. Trayon Harris would start in his place, and he would have to sit on the sideline for the season, but he would come back in 2014. But besides 3 touchdowns and an overtime win over Kentucky, he struggled and was benched for the remainder of the season. The Gators offense and Driskel struggled to put things together during 4 seasons with Will Muschamp as the head coach, and the Gators ranked last in the SEC in passing in 2012, last in scoring in 2013, and were 13th in the conference in total offense during the regular season. He was eligible to be a graduate transfer, so he ended up choosing Louisiana Tech. Not the most high-profile school, but it would get the job done for him. When he became a Bulldog, things magically changed for him, as all of a sudden he became a great passer and developed into one of the country's best quarterbacks. He threw for over 300 yards 8 times and even had 458 yards in their bowl win over Arkansas State, and it also just so happened to be his last game of his career. I wonder why. Maybe it was because he had a better coach. Overall, as a senior, he threw for 4,033 yards and 27 touchdowns, and had actually established himself as a legit NFL prospect, and he was going to hear his name called. Many liked his immeasurables, athleticism, and his strong arm, but a lot were worried about his production and his mechanics, and he would slip all the way to the 6th round, where he was taken with the 207th pick by the San Francisco 49ers, and scouts pegged him as a backup. He was the 4th-string quarterback for the Niners and was eventually waived, but he would become a journeyman quarterback and fight for every spot. After Andy Dalton was injured in Cincinnati, he started multiple games for the Bengals and proved he had some worth in the NFL. In 2019, he became the backup to Matthew Stafford in the Lions, and he actually got a chance to play in a few games before he was injured and would be out the remainder of the year. In 2020, he signed with the Denver Broncos, and to his luck once again, Drew Lock was injured and he would once again get a chance to start, and he played in a few games for the Broncos. But he violated COVID-19 rules and was fined at one point, and he's been sitting on the bench the whole year. Some will say that Jeff Driskel was a bust and ask what went wrong for him. He just didn't have the it factor in my opinion, wasn't well coached for most of his college career, and if you want to flame me for the lack of analysis, go ahead. I think Will Muschamp was a terrible coach for him, and he just needed the right system. He put up big time numbers at Louisiana Tech, proving he had the ability, and managed to start for 3 different NFL franchises. He makes millions of dollars playing football, doesn't take a massive beating, and he gets to travel all over the country holding a clipboard. He enjoys a pretty nice career, and he's playing the game he loves. I bet Jeff will continue to be a franchise backup quarterback for the rest of his career, and I expect him to make the most of his situation. I do not think he is a bust, because isn't the projection for a big-time quarterback recruit to start in the NFL someday? That is what he has done, and his time at Florida may not have lived up to all the hype, but I don't think he was a bust, and he's made the most of his situation. If you're a Florida fan, let me know what you think down in the comment section, and if you're a fan of Driskel at all, let me know why you think he hasn't worked out. If you have another player I should take a look at, please let me know down in the comment section, and be sure to give the video a like before you go. If you're somehow new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, and check out all my other videos, including my What Happened to Will Grier video. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.